So yeah, I definitely have the track day itch. Hey everyday riders, welcome to the channel. This is your host, Everyday Rider, back again with another video. I just got back from my second track day experience. I went with my buddy in his let's just say very unique track day suit, so keep an eye out for him. Yeah, just want to do a quick voice overlay before I turn it over to the GoPro footage. Just want to talk about my experience, some potential bike modifications, and improving on the track day skills and what I learned from this track day. So if you don't want to hear me rambling on, I will have all the chapters in the description in the below. So feel free to skip ahead to just the GoPro footage if you want. Also, side note, I did do a face reveal at the very end of the video. I'll call that my 100th subscriber face reveal. So if you do want to see my face and my messy motorcycle hair, stick around to the very end of this video where I was talking to one of the instructors about racing lines. Without further ado, let's talk about my experience on this track day. It was hosted by Sport Bike Track Time at Carolina Motorsports Parkway on November 19th. And it was cold as shit. It was like low of 30 degrees, like a high of 55, 57. And if you know anything about cold and motorcycles, they do not mix. Yeah, it just low grip makes it easier to crash. You know, your tires are just not warmed up. They're not as sticky. And that was definitely prevalent on this track day. I think out of like the 8 sessions, 6 of the Novas group had someone crash. Out of the entire like novice, intermediate, advanced, I want to say like, I don't know, 10 to 15 different crashes. It got to the point where it's like, I'm glad you're okay, but why did you have to crash? Like, now you're taking away from my time, and it was just a little frustrating just because of how much it was crashed. But yeah, I would not recommend going this late in the season to a track day just because of how cold it was. 1, you're not warmed up. 2, your bike is not warmed up. 3, your bike is not sticky anymore because your tires are cold. I mean, unless you have tire warmers, but even then, those can only do so much on a cold track. I mean, yeah, I'm glad I went to this event. I'm looking very forward to next season, but I would not. I think after like October, that's your cutoff right there. Like, November is, at that point, is too cold, even for South Carolina. I don't know, maybe for Florida it's a little bit different. But I think overall Sport Bike Track Time did a great job at hosting the event. They definitely seemed a little bit more catered towards novice, intermediate, or novice beginning group, right? So after the first 3 sessions, they had a class that taught about just how to become a better rider on the track. Body positioning, gearing, speed throughout the corners, exiting, apex lines. I think they did a great job at just like teaching you that and having it more tailored to the beginner group. Compared that to my first track day with N2, after the second session, they just let you free and do your thing. So I think they both have their pros and cons. Like, if you don't want to be out there waiting all, doing these sessions because, you're a little bit more advanced, then sure, so be it. But I did think that they did a great job at that and would probably recommend going back to their track organizer. Definitely looking to maybe do that again the next season, whether it's N2 or Sport Bike Track Time. I think they both did a great job. The instructors were really great. They're actively looking out for the Novas group and how they can improve those skills. And yeah, no, I just can't wait till next season. With that being said, let's, that kind of goes into the next topic, is some potential bike modifications that I either need to do or want to do going into next season. One of the first things that I'm going to do is a sprocket change. So I mentioned in my previous mod video on my CBR, I did a sprocket change, so it's down 1 in the front, up 2 in the rear, and it's a lot more aggressive, right? So it's using that 520 chain. It's very twitchy. It's almost like the throttle is on off, which is great for the street. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun, but on the track, when you're leaned over and your throttle is very twitchy, it was kind of sketchy. So yeah, I could just going into next season, I'm going to change it back to the OEM setup. It's great for the track, would recommend it, but maybe not necessarily for the track, maybe a little too aggressive. Suspension setup, that's the next thing that I want to talk about. At minimum, I need to service both rear and front suspension. I mean, guys, I have a 2008 Honda CBR. It's got almost 30,000 miles on it. The front forks are leaking on me just a little bit. Yes, I could probably like clean the dust seals and call it good, but long term, this is not a best solution. So I really need to change the fork oil, change the seals, get it fixed up. And then the rear suspension, since my bike is so old, it'd probably be a good idea just to service that as well. I think maybe we're looking around like $800 if we just do like a general service on rear and front suspension, maybe closer to $1,000. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see about that. I would love to be able to spend like $3,000 on a full suspension setup, get the rear shock, get the cartridge for the front forks. But I don't know if I'm willing to drop $3,000 on a suspension setup that, you know, I've only gone to like 2 track days. So maybe it's in the future, not necessarily on the front of the head, more on the back of my mind on whether I'm willing to do that kind of modification. The next 3 things are, again, a little pricey, but they kind of go in hand. One of those is track fairings. So the company that I'm looking at is Armor Bodies. They seem to have better structure. They seem to be easier to paint. A lot of good reviews on just fitment quality as well. So this kind of all fit my bucket. I think, you know, Armor Bodies would be really cool to have, but again, they're, you know, $1,200 compared to the Hot Bodies, which, you know, again, reviews say they're a little bit cheaper quality, but they're also a lot cheaper. Like, you know, right now they're on sale for Black Friday for like $700 with shipping. So we'll see about that. I'm not entirely sure if I'm sold on Hot Bodies or Armor Bodies. If I do go Armor Bodies, for whatever reason, they didn't make the underbelly pan fit with the stock headers of the CBR, so I would have to get new headers, unfortunately, which, again, maybe like $700 for headers, and then on top of that I would have to get like an ECU flash, so another like $250. So yeah, just between the track fairings and the headers and the ECU flash, we're looking at another $2,000. So yeah, when it comes to kind of setting up my bike like that, we'll see where I want to put my money at. Drop a comment below what you think would be more beneficial for my situation. Definitely leaning more towards just servicing my suspension setup, maybe buying a rear shock, but definitely servicing the front one. But yeah, feel free to drop a comment below what you think I should do. Last thing I want to talk about before I turn it over to the GoPro is just improving my track day skills. At my previous first track day that I went to, one of the instructors mentioned that my body position was a little whack. I was able to get my butt out, my knee down, or not necessarily hit the ground, but you know, we're trying to get there. But I was able to get my butt out and my knee out, but my head was staying right above the tank. So I was kind of at this like cross position whenever I was leaned over, which makes the bike unstable, which makes it harder to control and more likely to crash. So that was the one thing I was trying to implement at this track day, was actually improving my body position, which I think I did a good job at. Of course, there's always more room for improvement. And yeah, so next thing I need to focus on, and this conversation was also with an instructor at the very end of this video, so if you want, you can take a look at that, was actually just improving my racing lines. So one of the things that the instructor mentioned is I'm turning in too early into the lines, which kind of sets me up for failure when it comes to exiting the corner, and it also sets me up for failure going into the next corner. So you know, if I turn in a little bit later, I can carry more speed, I can hit my apex harder, and it'll help me set myself up for a better cornering entry into the next corner. So yeah, if you want to hear that full conversation, feel free to stick around to the end of the video where I talk to the instructor about that, and where, you know, I do a face reveal and you can see my messy hair. But yes, without further ado, keep an eye out for my buddy in his very unique tracksuit while I go throughout my day. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Feel free to hit that subscribe and like button if you do so desire. Enjoy the rest of the GoPro footage and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you all on the flip.
何？ here tomorrow?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Do you ride this track often?
What's that?
Do you come out here at all? No?
This is my second time. I was out here with N2 last month.
Okay. So, the next time you come out here, I want you to focus on line. You saw how I was like pointing at places?
Yeah.
Those are apexes. I'm trying to say straighten up right here, slam it right here. So, and this is just how I talk, bro. I ain't talking shit about you. You're turning in on almost every corner that you're not supposed to turn in early on. That's where you turn in early. And then the ones you're supposed to turn in late on, you're turning in early on those. So, like this last corner,
Yeah.
you wanted to stay late on that last lap, but you still turned in too early. You see how it's pushing you out to the outside of the track? That's because you're apexing too early.
Okay.
If you'll wait a little longer, apex it later, it's going to shoot you straight down the straight. The carousel, okay? I call it the carousel. I know what numbers those are back there. You take that left-hand corner, you hard apex it. You straighten it out for the right-hander, you hard apex that one, and it's going to point you directly on the outside of the track.
Right.
You saw me pass both of those bikes back there? You move to the outside, bro, and you just hold that, right? And then as you see the apex coming, that's when you start to roll on it hard, and it'll carry you down the straight. I'm noticing, like, halfway through the corner, do you notice that you're giving it throttle and then you're letting off the throttle? That's bad, right?
Yeah.
You want to set entry speed, hold entry speed, and then slowly start to roll on as you're ready, right? When you're doing those mid corners like that, it's gonna fuck up your line, it fucks up your body position, it upsets the bike. There's all kind of shit that happens, right?
Right, yeah.
So it would be better for you to not do the throttle modulation, slowly give it right there, and then hold maintenance, and then wick open, okay?
Yeah. No, I re-geared the bike and it's very twitchy down low.
Yeah.
So I
Well, this is a 600, you should never be down low, man.
yeah.
You should always be up top, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
that's
yeah.
where the power is, above 11, right?
Well, I mean like lower gears is what I meant. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, like lower gears, like second especially, is very twitchy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you don't look bad. I'm not coming over here to talk shit about you. I'm just, you're walking off from me in the straight, and I catch you as soon as we get to a corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you'll just work on your line, like track awareness, where you're supposed to be in certain corners, your pace is going to pick up regardless, right?
Yeah.
So if you can, like, okay, don't turn in early, don't turn in early, don't turn in early, and then you get used to doing that late, you're going to get faster and faster through this snapping, right? So it's kind of late in the day. I know it's hard to work on shit now, man, but
I think I'm done after this session too. I'm starting to cramp up.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
I know, dude. I can hardly stand up straight. My back
Next time
is
you come
killing.
out here, just focus on line.
Yep.
And then once you get that, you're going to be able to build pace, and it's going to already be there for you. You'll be on the track where you're supposed to be.
What's your like best advice for just like committing to that? Because I feel like coming in later, you really have to kind of commit to it and like kind of get over that fear, right?
So I'm the wrong one to ask, man.
Yeah.
I can jump on your bike and I'll just go fuck the send out there. Like I'm 40, bro, and I still don't have that little thing to turn it off. That's why I don't race or do any other stuff.
Yeah.
There's some certain things you can do. Watch me do it right in front of you.
Yeah, I know.
You already know that a guy much bigger than you on a much smaller bike can do that kind of shit, right? Now it's different because suspension and whatnot, but watching somebody do it, you're gonna have some oh shit moments where you're like, this is way too fast, and then when you come through it, you're like, man, I can carry that kind of speed through there. So it'll come with time, it'll come with experience, man. I really don't know how to tell you how to get over that hump, but just with time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Cool. What was your name?
I'm Josh, man.
Josh, Nick.
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it. It's Alex.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. You didn't happen to see me, did you?
I did not know.
It's pretty hard to miss this guy.
I know, right? It's all good thing.
Look who's talking.
I like the colors.
Rainbow.
No, man. I didn't get to watch you. I've got an eval next session, or I'd follow you, but the general gist that I'm seeing of most of the novice group is line.
Yeah.
Even my group, I mean, the guys that I was trying to show, they're like, look, we just want to ride. I'm like, fine, fair enough. You'll have a good time.